and welcome to the Benjamin Zulu Show. We live our life in beautiful ways, and sometimes we are hurt in terrible ways. So we go through beautiful relationships and bad breakups from those relationships. Now, what does that mean? We get some people who do not believe in love after that, but then we have something else that is totally different, and that is what we're focusing on today. And that is how a bad breakup actually predisposes you to a string of bad relationships after that. Benjamin.
And you know, it's so unfortunate that a person who has had a pain in the past is not met with comfort in the future. That many times where you're coming from shapes you for that kind of life. It cuts some kind of grooves and sort of makes you, if you face that thing again, it will be familiar and it can escape your consciousness. Mm-hmm. And it also blurs you to the contrast of what is right. If you don't put an effort to migrate from this, you can end up living, you've left the actively painful situation.
Okay.
You're no longer being abused anymore. Mm-hmm. You're doing your life now, you're out there. Mm-hmm. But any emotional connection you had, the last thing you had was pain, and things were left there. Mm. When you go to the next relationship, the familiarity of what you had will attract you to other things that are similar like it. That sounds philosophical. Let's calm down.
Okay, yeah, because I was following until I wasn't. Okay.
So we're saying,
yes,
there are two situations where this kind of painful past predisposes you.
Yes.
One of them is if you are treated badly growing up yourself.
Yes.
Or you watched a bad marriage by your parents. Mm-hmm. You may know love in theory from movies and stories from other people, that people love, support each other, they don't quarrel, they don't fight, they don't backstab, they don't do you hear stories of a good relationship, but what you saw was backstabbing, was quarrel, tension, silence, hatred, malice. You saw so much coldness and strife and rancor. You saw so much the wrong thing and the energy. And because you lived there, you breathed it. It was so exposed before you for so long.
Yeah.
And this is very important to tell us that children will breathe in the parents' marriage, whether it is good or bad.
Okay. That is very true.
Because many of us say, as long as she's not abusing the children, it's only me and her who are not working. It's not working. We can stay for the sake of the children. We have no life between us. But because she's a good mother, I'm a good dad, for the sake of the children, these children will need an example of marriage.
Yes.
And when you show them the bad example of marriage, they grow in with that. If you had parted ways, they would not have so close radiation of dysfunctional union. They breathe in, they can see lack of chemistry, lack of friendship. They can see it.
Yeah.
And when you're in the same system, like a house, you have to coordinate, communicate. And when you're communicating, when there's no love, there'll be dryness. Yeah. There'll be quarrels. There will be absence of connectivity, and they can sense it. They can see you guys are not friends.
Yeah.
And when you're solving conflicts, when there's no love, it's like riding something that is not lubricated. It will make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Even a normal thing that should have been communicating about coordinating one, two things. Just when you live in the same house, belong to the same family, there should be love. When there's no love, there'll be friction. There'll be chaos, there'll be wrangle, or there'll be dryness. And that's what children learn seeing. So you could have grown seeing that kind of marriage. Many people who we are addressing today did not have an explosively abusive past.
Okay.
When people saw a lot of brutality, they are aware that they might need curing first. Mm-hmm. The ones we are discussing today are those who, from outside, you may not even know that the marriage of their parents was not okay.
Okay.
There was no presence of violence. There was just absence of love.
I see.
Okay?
I see. I see. No.
I want you to know many people were raised without love. There was no press. They were not beaten up or chased away.
Yeah. But then they did not know what love is.
Now, the second category is people who are in a relationship, especially this long term.
Soon will be nice. You know, when you say those things, I'm there. I pick out my book immediately.
You know,
mental notes.
And we said when you stay with one person in a romantic connection, emotional connection, they sort of, that relationship becomes a tunnel you shape yourself into. You avoid doing the things that lady doesn't like. I learn to say things she likes. Mm-hmm. I learn to do things she likes, and in fact have her taste and become so accustomed to what she loves. That becomes how I treat her and ladies in general.
Okay.
She may have a love of pets, so much, teddy bears, things. So I explore that world, finding which type, which is this, and over those 5 years, my way of expressing love includes so much of that. That is my way of showing love.
Okay.
And because you want to make each other happy, you're sincere. As I told you, there's nothing as dangerous as being sincerely wrong. You're doing the right thing at the wrong time and you're so honest.
Oh, God.
You give your all. Remember the slogan? Honest feelings and bad timing produces the rawest pain. Honest feelings and bad timing produces the rawest pain. That's why for most people, the first heartbreak was shattering, because they were honestly sincere in love at the wrong time. And so the crash was inevitable, and it was the way I see people sitting on a motorbike like this, as if they're seated on a chair. Very sincere, very wrong. Ladies, very sincere, and they're trying to be ladylike and nice on a motorbike.
Don't do that. What?
And I keep telling my wife, this motorbike does not need to fall. It doesn't need anything outrageous to happen for you to break your back. He applies emergency, or he swaps, or something.
It's a bump.
You know? I say, how many of us have placed ourselves that way in relationships?
Oh, God.
You know, very honest. Trying to be nice. In the wrong place. You know? And you know, I was telling my wife that you should accept where you are in life.
Yes.
If right now you're using motorbikes, equip yourself for it.
That is true. I have to say, a friend of mine walks around with a helmet.
If this stage of your life requires it, sometimes you have a car, but the distances you want to go, the car is not convenient. The timing and all that. My friend, equip yourself for that environment. You know? Yes. And I had a friend who would take, if the guy does not have an extra, she takes his.
I will take yours. I'm sorry.
You know?
I'm sorry.
You're supposed to have, and them, they don't mind because they're used to it. So, the second thing is, when you get into a relationship and you stay there, you get so conditioned and rewired to express love to that person's proclivities and personality inclinations. And then time goes and goes, and because you have closed your mind to going back to searching, you've always been in love as far as you remember. Somebody said the hardest part after breakup is to wake up and find that there's no message in the morning.
There's no message.
There's no babe, sweetheart, there's nothing, you know. And for the first time, a whole day goes, except Safaricom reminding you about bundles. Somebody say, your only notification you find in the morning is fully charged.
You know?
You know? And so, now, this is what happens.
Okay.
When you have a silent deficiency, I want you to be careful.
Okay.
A bleeding problem is calling for attention. When you have a wound that is bleeding, it is urgently saying, act quickly. And even people will come to help. A bleeding problem is bad, but at least it calls for attention. Okay. If you suffer breakup and then you somehow manage to go away from it and go back to work and try to reorganize your life. You're not bleeding anymore, but you have gaps.
Okay.
You have a way you had learned love according to a particular person and their flavors. That's how you see the world. You have a way, after the breakup, you feel so disoriented and lost. You can't remember who you used to be without a person, without love. And then you go on in your life, you have silent deficiencies of being able to open up to other people, gauge love or gauge relation, or gauge people. You're coming from a place of so low. You are conditioned to one person, then they left. Next, you lack understanding of the wider world. You fear opening up, but you seem functional outwardly. 10 years can go without any other relationship. You can stay 5 years without another relationship. And when you finally date again, you still date wrong.
Ugh.
This is how people have found it like almost an enigma.
Yeah.
Difficult to explain how a person who is so decent and clean and doing things honestly keeps dating devils.
It doesn't really make sense.
And it was not the first one. We know this is the second bad case.
Yes.
You know a stream. You know every time they attempt, they get it so wrong. And you feel baffled. Are you bewitched?
Because you know they are good people.
This is a good person.
Yeah.
This is actually usually the problem.
What?
Quiet, underlying, not shouting, but deficiencies that are so dangerous yet quiet and unaddressed. For example, we said when you have a crying pain, you go to attend to it.
Yes.
When the pain is,
yes,
I'm hurt, you look for a solution.
Yep.
Pain is an alarm and it requires immediate attention. So when it is something painful, panic attacks, depression and fear, and people keep you company, help you find medication, find solution, they'll make calls around, help my friend, she's in a crisis, he's in a crisis, he can't get out, this guy. So when there's pain, you get assisted.
Okay.
But gaps don't shout.
Okay.
Deficiencies don't shout. Lack of knowledge, lack of awareness, being so closed in a cocoon is not. Your friends think you're okay, because as I told you, the problem in the relationships, they don't mix with your career. You can be very excellent in careers. You can be very excellent as a social organizer. When we have an event, Mikali is the best MC. He will show up and hype the event, and we go home so happy. That girl is so nice, thank you so much, and she has a career. Who can think Mikali has a problem?
Nobody.
When you have a past that held you back from the time you're supposed to be learning, that conditioned you to a certain way of thinking, and then the breakup left you so dejected and unsure and afraid, you can walk for years around with all that yawning gap. A deficiency in self-awareness, a deficiency in self-esteem, an inability to ask for a healthy relationship, and most dangerously, inability to imagine a healthy relationship and you in it. This is the silent explanation where you meet good people who you pity them and feel a pain in your chest when you see how unfortunate they are, not just in one relationship.
Yeah.
They got away from one girlfriend and they still married a copy of her later.
Yeah. It's been seen.
You know?
Yes.
And you cannot explain such a clean, decent, generous, kind, honest, committed guy. Usually people say, you are unlucky.
Like, oh, he has a type.
This is the problem and this is the solution. So we are saying, when you have had a past breakup,
Okay.
usually check what did it wire into your nervous system deeply.
Okay.
There's a show we did talking about how that trauma shakes the fiber of your being.
Yeah.
And because people don't want you don't want to keep crying, asking for help. You also want to hurry up and become normal again. No,
You don't want to be a burden.
you know, and I'm okay now, I'm doing well. I actually am recovering. Our society doesn't really nurse breakups, heartbreaks. They are not serious. They are not, unless you develop something else like depression.
Yeah, unless it's dramatic.
I mean,
The rest, they're just like, ukiwacho wa chika.
you know, they count it as if it was just acceptance.
Yeah.
But it is in the following ways that it prepares you to be failing constantly. Number one is when you don't realize that after just healing from the bleeding, it no longer hurts now. You also had another reconstruction to do.
Okay. Okay.
This is the stage we meet. And because it's hard work, I told you facing yourself takes courage. And many people, that's why they avoid it.
Yeah.
We had a feedback system in a group we grew up in. I was telling you about.
Yes.
And we had cultivated that culture of dropping it as it is.
Ooh.
And would have that period and you fear it, but you know it's therapeutic. It's painful, but it's therapeutic.
And nobody has anything against you.
You know.
Yeah.
And if you carry beef, you get out of there, you disappear. It's okay.
You are told.
And eventually, I internalized that. We are told, eventually, if you can become your own honest evaluator, you'll have developed a superpower. Without knowing, all great inventors like the guy who invented Apple said that he could promote the person who challenges him in the most substantive way. In fact, they had an award. They had a trophy and money and a position for that person who does the most substantive challenging of Steve Jobs' ideas that year. An annual ceremony of awarding a critic.
Nice.
We admire these guys, but we don't want to copy their ways.
Okay.
I was introduced to that concept, but they took time to explain the difference between constructive criticism and just attacks and malice. He said they were talking about substantive. He develops an idea and a guy picks critical flaws with it. And now they can be addressed. Oh my, there's something he had not seen. He will pick you and give you a position, money, reward, trophy. Which encourage people to evaluate everything he said.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, if all great guys, and you have seen how big organizations keep asking for feedback. They are flying up there. Why are they asking for feedback? They know they came up by hearing your feedback.
Yes.
And they must continue hearing it.
Yes.
You know? So, after breakup, we never go back for feedback. For assessment, whether we are still ourselves.
No.
And this is a problem. You have so beautiful, handsome guys. Have you seen in the recent past big people being fallen, being brought down by relationships? A guy winning Oscar, and at the day of the Oscar, there's something involving his woman. He overreacts, he tumbles down. A person who has reached the top of his singing career after many years of rehearsals and growth, right at the top, killed. A person was right in the ranks of the corporate and they're somewhere in railways and prospectively they can be big. People are saying she could have been an ambassador or big things. She knows the potentials. But alongside, she has never had this kind of feedback for relationships. We don't have anybody to tell us, what do you think in my relationship? We don't have anybody who's safe enough to tell you. People see it, but they fear telling you because they don't know whether you can stomach it. Yes. You know? Yes. And the one thing we were warned about what great people do is they marry a person who cannot talk, who cannot correct them, we were told the first thing you must equip your partner is the safety to tell you the truth. If you hear the truth at home, it will never blow up and hear it in public. If you refuse to hear it at home, it will happen out there. It will be blown out there by people who don't care about you, who wish you ill. The person at home who wishes you well should have the permission to tell you the truth. So this is what happens. After we have left that relationship, many of us think healing is stopping activity. I'm taking my time to heal. So they only take the time. And they resist step 3 because they're taking
time.
But it's only time.
That's it.
It's actually time out. They go somewhere and sit.
Yes.
Now, this is the problem with emotional pain, and we usually compare it to the physical pain, but they differ in contrast ways. In that physical pain, the body will heal itself as long as you're eating.
Okay.
Many of the wounds will not need complicated medication. Just eat right, it will heal. Okay. Emotional wounds don't heal themselves. What you're eating does not affect. So the following are the problems that people begin to quietly anticipate a breakup whenever things are going well. Because last time when things were going well, it was followed by a bang. So they're always on an edge. when things are doing well, they don't plan it consciously.
Yes.
It was just wired as if those things usually go together, happiness and sadness. And when you pamper them, love them, they almost say, that's a trap. What's catch? What's the catch?
What's the catch? Too good to be true.
And they can't settle in a good moment, good connection. Their nervous system registered the bang, always calm. Those who grew in abusive homes will tell you whenever they were happy that day, they would still cry before they sleep. and I thought it's only in our place until I interviewed a few people
as well, because it was a thing where if you're too happy, you'd be conscious, you'd be like, why am I too happy? Let me stop being too happy because
so that
it will end badly.
Exactly.
Is it an African thing? What is it? It's a backward thinking.
It's a psychology of abuse.
Oh no, are we all abused? Oh God.
Sick environments don't allow joy. And even if the abuser was not around, something will happen to trigger.
Yes.
And you will pay for the happiness. So you learn not to be too happy to avoid
the sadness.
Or you learn to be happy out there in school with your friends. When you come home, tune into this environment. Don't disturb it.
Because your happiness is disruptive.
Yes. Now you got the psychology.
Yeah.
And not only do people hate to see you being happy, but even sometimes you wonder, is it spiritual? The person was not around when you were happy. They come on after the happiness is gone. And they still kick up dust. We end up being, we want to now. I tell you guys to stop laughing now.
See what has happened.
You know?
Oh my God.
It troubled me so long, we had already observed the pattern.
Okay.
That when you are happy, it will end badly. Some people, after the breakup, they registered that. They remember the time they were happy. They opened up. They gave themselves. When they find themselves, giving themselves. Opening up. Saying, I love you too. Say, the same threat accompanies the same activities. And this is 10 years later.
Oh, God.
After they have taken their time.
So now this is a confirmation of what they believe.
Yes. Oh. That is the first thing, how it conditions you. Because it was a good time followed by a bad bang. All good times become like setups. That's why you have a lot of people who are withdrawn from life. To avoid being happy, then they have to be punished. To avoid being loving and open, and so that they know if they don't fall in love, they don't get in love things, they will avoid the chaos. So, and physically they're so lovable. These people, you talk to them about life itself, you enjoy their company. They are people like me and you. They have nothing you could say glaringly unlovable. No. They are people. And they are doing life. But after that thing happened, they did not know that they had been wired in the wrong direction. And the conclusion, and remember, they are aware that good relationships are possible. Yes. They just don't think it's for them. They know people are happy.
Yeah.
They know what they deserve. The second thing is they lose standards to measure qualities that make for a good relationship. They lose judgment and a gauge to tell, to project where will this lead. Be careful with this. I know you've heard of red flags every day, and yes, the word has been overused until people don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Let me avoid it and tell you traits. Okay. Traits that traits now, and you also don't hear a lot about green flags. So I'm addressing good qualities that you should look for.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it's just the red flags. This is just a confirmation. Did I just walk into that?
So we talk about the bad signs, we don't talk about the good signs.
Well, yeah.
So there are traits that make for rich, invigorating, robust relationships. They are definitive. They are not guesswork.
Okay.
They exist, and I keep telling people, like, our emotional life and psychological life is as clear as algebra. But because people keep talking about, there are no formula relationships, there are no formula life, there are no rules, it's all guesswork. If you don't believe you can understand the system, you never then put the effort to understand it. One of the attributes is a person who is internally coherent. A person who has reached to a place where they are at peace with their lives. They're not complaining how they were brought up. They're not complaining who damaged their life. They're not complaining who made them angry. They're not a person who has overcome complaining. and balance their lives and accepted where they are,
Okay.
they will be able to handle relationship with a similar aura of acceptance and positivity.
Oh, wow.
This is an important trait.
Okay.
But because we are not aware of it, we ignore it. The second thing is a person who is constantly making steps forward. Constantly making steps forward. You don't see them struggling, straining, fighting, but you see them with a rhythm. They are centered. You know they are centered because there's no conflict inside. They are at work. The work is not paying the kind of salary they want, but they have adjusted their life for now. They know after a few years they'll be able to qualify for a better job.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a magistrate, and he was posted his first job very far away. And he accepted it with equanimity, saying, this is my first time to come to litigation. I need a few years with a place of less stress. So the far away, the less the pressure.
Yeah.
The nearer the city, the higher the pressure and demand. So it took me, those years are okay. I have to commute 1,000 kilometers back and forth to come home. But I don't mind. For those 3 years, I can also grow. He has never complained. We are the ones who pity him. So you see, this is the face of life, man, and I'm happy about just he gets the right car for long commutes, the right music to ride on the road.
Yes.
It's us who remind him, man, you are doing hard work. Man, this is just my face of life. You need a person who has arrived there. This is not resignation.
No.
He can't wait also to step up and go to the next better place.
Okay.
But while I'm here, I'll make the best of it. You need that. The last quality you need to know whether this person, to know whether you've reached. Remember we said the first one, you don't keep blaming your ex for how they let you down.
Yeah.
Remember they needed your cooperation to let you down. Had you not dated them, no, they would not have hurt you. People don't hurt you from outside. You had brought them inside. This is the reason I keep asking people, don't tell me how your baby mama, baby daddy is behaving. Had you installed simple rules in your life to only get children to have sex inside marriage, you'll not be in this place.
That is
So
true.
first of all, start by owning up. By saying, yeah, this is troublesome, man, but I brought myself into it. So how can I do it? Let's discuss it without complaining attitude. And equanimity, accepting the situation the way it started. Then the next thing is to have reached a place where you are making progress. If a person is making progress in life, even after they get married, they'll start making progress. If a person has since withdrawn and seem quietly resigned and to fate, and as if these things are controlled inexplicably, and some things are not for us. Some of us are not lacking relationships. When you read comments online on Facebook, you see those people every day. The rest of us who have already been disqualified in relationships, which corner do we meet? And they make it a joke. That's how they think. Those of us who are not, relationships are not for us. Where do we go? Where are we meeting? And they think they're throwing in a joke.
Yes.
They're admitting a dangerous position in life. The third place is a person who is conscious of where they're coming from and where they don't want to slide back to. Okay. A person knows there's a time they were blinded, where they got into relationships without careful thinking, and it cost them pain. And they are aware that blind decisions can be expensive. They don't rush into it. The opposite is the people who blocked and they don't want to face that direction. So they end up still sliding back into it. So I told you, once you say I don't want relationships anymore, you have not killed your biology. It will still wake up.
Yeah.
Paradoxically, baby, the guys who have children all over here are those who have given up on relationships. Who have this girl there, this child there, they'll tell you they did not want relationships. They decided they don't want. Did you agree that with your biology? You should have signed up to be a priest or some nun or some other regiment that keeps people celibate.
Yes.
If you just say it with your mouth, but your biology is still all over here, you keep sliding. This person has 4 children with the different people, and you're wondering, you said you did not want. Now, how does this happen? Because although they denied physically that they don't want it, they were avoiding the pain, and they still slid in biologically. The solution is to heal, so that even if you resolve to live without relationships, it's from a place of resolution, not pain and desperation. Yes.
A bleeding wound calls for attention. As literal as that sounds, it is so true. And what do we do with a bleeding wound? We attend to it. You get the best physicians. You want to know, will it go further? Is it deep? What do we do? Do we need to amputate? But do we do that with our hearts? When we get out of bad relationships? No, we don't. So, as that bleeding wound, in the same importance, treat your heart, your emotions in the same way. When you've gone through a terrible heartbreak. I was going to read something profound from Zulu's page. Understand this. It may take 10 years since you left that abusive relationship, either from home or from a former lover, but if you neglect to heal on purpose, you're doomed to end up in another like it. You may not realize how vulnerable you are because you're just being yourself and you do not know how a healthy reality should be like. To judge a bad thing, we always need the reference point of a good thing, and you lack that. You may know a healthy relationship in theory, but you've never felt it experientially, and so it's foreign. It's so foreign to your nervous system. So this is why your systems need rewiring before you take in another lover. Your taste buds are all disoriented now.